Hello and welcome. I'm Val Evans, and a special warm welcome to my members, the valedictorians. If you are new to my channel, we look at astrological charts and tarot cards to give us clues on future events and crimes. And tonight I will be talking about the Coburger alibi that was recently amended and what clues we can get from the entire case, for the entire case, that we can find just from that one timestamp. So, yes, it's true. The alleged murderer of 4 innocent University of Idaho students wants a jury to believe that he was not in that house on 1122 King Street on the night of November 13th, 2022, but rather southwest, quite a distance away at Wawawai Park, gazing at the moon and stars. So we will be breaking this down. We've got a couple of charts. We've got some tarot cards. Some of you don't really care about astrology, but you care about the clues. And that's why a lot of people come on this channel. They really don't want to know what Jupiter means, and that's just fine. We can give you clues, and we've got a wonderful group of astrologers and really talented psychics that come on here. So I'm glad to welcome you all. Natalie, good to see you. M. Taylor, glad you could make the live. And Jody, of course. So we're on a little bit early tonight. So I am going to let's look at the document first while we wait for a few people to get on. Let me just share that. Okay, so hopefully you can see this. Not really. All right. This is the chart we're going to do. One of the charts we're going to do, and that is for April 17th, 2024, just filed at 4:41 p.m. What a great timestamp that is. And this is the document. It's a brief document. Comes now, Bryan C. Kohberger, by and through his attorney of record, Ann C. Taylor, public defender, and hereby files a supplemental response to the demand for alibi and in compliance with Idaho Code 19-519 and Idaho Criminal Rule 12.1. Mr. Coburger moved to Pullman, Washington in June of 2022. As an avid runner and hiker, he explored many areas of the Palouse. Of note, he explored Wawawai Park in July of 2022, and this became a favorite location. After the school year began, Mr. Coburger was busy with classes and work at Washington State University, and his running and hiking decreased, but did not stop. Instead, his nighttime drives increased. This is supported by data from, I'm going to say Mr. Coburger, hold on. And it cuts off. Hold on one sec. Okay, you got to download the PDF. Mr. Coburger's phone showing him in the countryside late at night and or in the early morning on several occasions. The phone data includes numerous photographs taken on several different late evenings and early mornings, including in November, depicting the night sky. Okay, so Mr. Coburger was out driving in the early morning hours of November 13th, 2022, as he often did to hike and run in or see the moon and stars. He drove throughout the area south of Pullman, Washington, west of Moscow, Idaho, including Wawawai Park. Mr. Coburger intends to offer testimony of Psi Ray, CSLI expert, cell tower, cell phone, and other radio frequency curricula vitae is attached to show that Bryan Kohberger's mobile device was south of Pullman, Washington, and west of Moscow, Idaho on November 13, 2022. That Bryan Kohberger's mobile device did not travel east on the Moscow-Pullman highway in the early morning hours of November 13th, and thus could not be the vehicle captured on video along the Moscow-Pullman highway near Floyd's cannabis shop. Well, you knew there was gonna be some kind of drug theme in there because there's so much Pisces. Additional information as to Mr. Coburger's whereabouts as the early morning hours progressed, including additional analysis by Mr. Ray, will be provided once the state provides discovery requested, and now subject to an upcoming motion to compel. If not disclosed, Mr. Ray's testimony will also reveal that critical exculpatory evidence further corroborating Mr. Coburger's alibi was either not preserved or has been withheld. So this is dated April 17th, 2024. Interested to see what you think about that. So the timestamp that I'm using, I'm going to use a couple of timestamps. First, we're going to use the crime chart, solar return chart tonight. And we're going to see how that would predict something that had to do with driving and communications. And we're also going to look at this timestamp for the submission by Ann Taylor. And that, of course, is Coburger's lawyer. So, hey, Toy, glad you could make it. Okay, so back to, you know what, since I've got this camera up, I might as well consult the cards for a minute. And let me take a look at, let's get a theme for this alibi. Let's see what the cards believe when it comes to, and this is the astrological cards, what the cards believe will be the outcome of this alibi, because we would like to know. So many people online and on YouTube are commenting and commentating on this alibi, and if it could potentially work. But what do we think? What does Spirit believe will be this outcome for the alibi of the moon and stars? And here we go. Sun. Well, the sun has to do with the government, and it's also interesting how Cy is named Cy Ray. So this has to do with, basically, it's all up to this expert, and if he can prove whether it's a viable alibi or reasoning that they could place the alleged murderer in this park. Authority figures, yes, Jody. Natalie, you are saying, from a legal perspective, I really cannot stand that the defense has to give an alibi to the prosecution prior to trial. Talk about giving prosecution the game plan. Yes, exactly, Jody. Okay. And, you know, I just want a clarifying card on that sun. We're talking about the alibi. Can you give us maybe a second clue as to what we can expect with this alibi? What would be the outcome? I wonder if the sun was the government here. But what about the sun? And the first house, the body. So, I have a feeling that that's going to have something to do with the actual victims, you know, basically the physical evidence. That's a possibility. But the first house is also the identity of the chart. So maybe it's giving us some kind of hint to look at the first house for this chart. So that is interesting. Now I am going to share. We're going to look at the weapon too. See if we can see anything from this chart. And before we do that, we're going to just, that's the timestamp. But we're going to look at the solar chart first. Now, this is the solar chart for the crime, okay? Every solar chart starts on November 13th, which was the time of the crime. And let's see if I can get this a little bit bigger here. That should be good for now. Yeah, I agree, Toy. He has been in a lot of high profile cases from what I understand. So he knows his stuff when it comes to helping defense teams, from what I read. Okay. Now, this is this past November, okay, and then it's going to go into April of 2024. So, what you would do, just like your own chart, your own uh, solar return chart, it is just going to give us a picture of the sky at the exact time and date, but for that year. So the very next solar return chart for the crime would have been November 13th, 2023. But it would go into 2024. No, actually, the crime chart started November 2021. The 13th, no, did it? No. Okay, so there's only been one solar return chart. The actual crime chart started that first year, November 13th, sorry to confuse you, 2022, and then the next one was 2023. So we're only on the first solar return chart. Now, November 13th is the first house. December, January, February, March, April. Isn't it interesting that we could have predicted that between April 13th and May 13th, that there would be something that would have to do with communications and a driver and a car. So what do? We look at the ruler of the sixth house, which is Mercury, and it's up here in the 11th house. Well, the 11th house is the Aquarius house. So this is the tracking of a car. This is data. And so what is happening on this month is that there's a female here, an attractive female maybe, or somebody who is interested in justice or the court system. The ninth house is the court. And it's a small court because it's in Virgo. Virgo is smaller. There's a trine here. So there's this alibi in a sense, or this communication, which would be Mercury. This would be a piece of paper or some type of email. And so there is a sextile to that Venus. This has to do, let's see, it's not over yet. April 13th to May 13th. So I think we're going to hear more about the victims who looked alike, which would be Mercury. But here is where it gets a little bit difficult when it comes to that alibi, when it comes to that basically transmission to the court, which is Sagittarius. Sagittarius is the court. The problem is there is a square to Saturn. Someone's going to block it. So it doesn't look positive to me. This alibi, whatever is being submitted to the court, there's some success here because of that sextile. Still, I think we've got till May 13th to see what's up, because this is two women that look alike. This could be the twin of one of the victims, which I've said before. I mean, the lawyer looks like, one of the victims, I'm sorry to say. So at least a lot of people think that. But with this square to Saturn, doesn't look like it's going to go very far. I'm not sure when it's going to play out. It looks like a little bit later on in this solar return year. Okay. So here is the alibi chart. And let's see. I know, I agree. So now what we're going to do is, and by the way, we just have a few people on tonight. I made it a members only, so you guys can talk amongst yourselves a little bit. And Toy, remember how he had and why he applied to work for LE, something to do with cops not knowing how to actually track people and being tricked. Interesting. Okay, so I'm going to make this a little bit smaller so you can see this time. And I'm going to go back here. So this is the chart. This is the chart for Ann Taylor's submission to the court late on the 17th. And the court had requested that there was more detail about this alibi that they could put on the record. So this time is basically ruled by Virgo. Virgo is ruling this chart. And so Mercury is retrograde. It's right here in Aries. And it is, there's a lot of anger about this, a lot of, probably why do we have to do this? This is such BS. There's a lot of people who are pretty angry about this. It seems behind closed doors. With Mercury retrograde, it's okay because it's a revision. She's revising, Ann Taylor, the defense lawyer, is revising her or Coburger's initial alibi. So that would make sense when it came to Mercury retrograde, but at 18 degrees is very interesting. And evil, something that's very evil that has to do with that communication. Almost like, that's weird. Aries represents head. 18 degrees is the devil. So like the devil's head. And we have the North Node, which we were talking about last night, where it is just so much anger. It is like gasoline on there, but it also represents blood. And so this is kind of like there's blood in the car potentially. You can see this from the timestamp, which is unbelievable, but it really gives you more. It's almost like here's another clue. Okay. Now we have something that is, I would say it's a bit, what's the word? Disappointing, because we've got this big blue triangle. That is something that's very good, okay? And it's really working for the defense, it would seem, because of all of this amazing energy coming from Jupiter and Uranus. Some of you are probably experiencing something like this, where when you have this Jupiter Uranus in this conjunction and it's in this big trine, it is big, big, big success. Okay. So if none of these other planets were here, it would be a slam dunk for her. Yep. We've got the expert. He has amazing credentials and bona fides, and we're ready to go forward, and the jury's going to believe us, and then case closed. However, we have a couple of things that are going to be troubling to the defense. And first of all, we have a T-square. The T-square, very difficult in a chart, showing that there's going to be some kind of block, okay? And the South Node is trying to get rid of a few things, trying to maybe throw out evidence. And they're not, it seems as if there's going to be some evidence that they really want to toss, but they can't. So that's one thing there. South Node is basically to purge. They want to purge something. And when you have something in a T-square, it means that you can't get rid of it. If you have it in a nice trine, it's like, woof, I got all that stuff out of my garage and I'm just so happy. And, we're moving and onward and upward. But if you've got a T-square, it is basically you're stuck. I think so. And you said, I've watched a few of Cyray's episodes on YouTube and he seems really smart and very likable. Okay. Jody, that's a good possibility. We can do that. She's defending him full speed ahead. I guess that's what defense attorneys are supposed to do. Good for her, right? Natalie, you're saying what's wild is that Google can track you even with your phone off. I've heard it's very hard to get a warrant for that info, though, because Google is difficult. Very interesting. And it's hard to believe that there is not some type of evidence like that. And I think that the prosecution is sitting on a lot we don't know about. But it seems as if they're grasping at straws. And we're going to see that, down the line. So now let's look at the rest of this chart here. What I think is really interesting. Now, keeping in mind, part of fortune is probably the most important part of a chart. It's going to show whether you're successful or not that year. And there does show some success that they are going to be able to prove certain things when it comes to the GPS, because that blue triangle. Yet, it's not enough. I don't think it's enough. Why? Because you have females here, Venus and Aries. This is blood, and it looks like a lot of blood. And this could be blood evidence here. And it is, marring the success, it seems, from this chart and really hurting the defense. So let's look and see what Coburger's up to. And I'm going to choose the 8th house, which is the 8th house of murderers. And it makes sense because the cusp is right in Aries. Aries represents meat, and as well as German names. So Coburger, there you go. And so where's Mars? So he's down here. And he's in Pisces. Mars doesn't do so well in Pisces. It is basically someone in jail. It's in the 12th house. It's incarcerated. And yes, that's possible, Natalie. It is. So he's here, Mars. And it seems like he's pretty pissed off. Like Mars. I mean, it might just represent who he is and what his name is and what that is representative of at the 20th degree of Scorpio. Now, get a load of this one. Scorpio is representative of a snake, okay? And in Pisces, could that represent, and then you've got this sextile to Uranus, which is very fast and can represent a river. Could that be the Snake River? Could the weapon be in the Snake River? And could it be near where he said he was? He's just thinking, you know what? Nobody's ever going to find that there. So that's where I put the weapon. And in my mind, this is happening. Is all alleged and for entertainment purposes only. But, I'll just say that I'm down there. I was down there anyway. They're not going to find it. And, that's where I was actually. So there's a possibility that he's saying that to his lawyer. So we've got Mars here as the perp. Okay. Isn't it interesting how? And this is what I love about these charts, because you can see some things that are going on that nobody knows, that only a few people know. And we've got this sextile to Jupiter and Uranus, and it's right inside the court here. It also represents the press, but let's for now say it's in the court. Write it around Algol. Okay, so Algol represents the neck. It represents losing one's head. And Uranus represents DNA. So we've got Coburger here, right? I wonder in the 6th house. Now, you guys might come back and say, this theory doesn't make any sense because he's in a maximum security prison. He's not allowed to read any books and he only has 20 minutes to go to the bathroom, or something like that. But this chart tells me that he's studying. It looks like he is studying DNA. Look at how this is him down here. And there's this blue Hope you can see this. There's this blue triangle here to him, and he's in the sixth house. Is he just devouring, or he could just be talking to an expert a lot? Maybe this Cy Roberts guy or Ray's guy, Cy Ray. What an interesting name that is. But seems as if he, Coburger, is getting knowledgeable about DNA. And he's going to become very successful at doing so because of that part of fortune, which is weird because what's he going to do with that? Is he going to teach classes in prison? We don't know. But the reason he's doing it now, obviously, is so that he can help the defense poke holes. There's no question in my mind that he believes he's smarter than Ann Taylor. And so he, in his mind, thinks that he's the lawyer, that he's the one that has to come up with the strategy. And she's just his assistant. That would be something I believe he probably thinks, because he doesn't have a really good outlook or doesn't really have any good thoughts about women. So interesting how he would have a female public defender. Anyway, we've got him here, but look at this. Look at how he is opposing Black Moon Lilith. This is somebody who wants to be pretty bad and nefarious, or is already seen as bad and nefarious. And there's an opposition here. So don't forget, there's DNA, but could there have been DNA in the shower? Because Pisces, that's going to be a big clue. Look at so much Pisces. You've got a lot of Pisces and so much Aries. So are we going to, of course, Neptune represents Moscow as well. It's going to represent a missing weapon because Neptune and Pisces mean missing. Mars is a weapon, and Saturn is like a weapon that is created from something from history. So it's a historical weapon. This, I believe, is a really good hint about where the weapon is. Could it be found? So we would have to look at now Jupiter. Jupiter is searchers. Uranus is technology. I think, and I know this is crazy, but if the right people got out there in that Snake River, I think they could find that weapon. I really do. Now, some of you don't think it's in the river. I'd be interested to find out where you think it is. Yeah, I'm sure Google was in the warrant, but it's a tracking location piece that they have to ask for. That's hard to obtain. Yes, and this is that'll be really interesting. I think they've gone back and forth on that one. That's been kind of a note of contention there because of the FBI. I believe the last DNA expert they talked to, they were visited by the FBI. Okay, Toy, you think it's in a tree. Interesting. By water. Okay. Oof, you said that and I got the chills. That's weird. Okay, so let's look at this a little bit further. I think it's so interesting that all that DNA there is, the murderer here is right here in the sixth house, and it's the sixth house of court matters. So when you're in your own battle in court, you're going to look at the ninth house and the sixth house. And it's looking, I don't think it looks very good for the defense. I really don't. There's just too much that is opposing Coburger, which is right here. And there's somebody who is, interesting. There's somebody behind the scenes that he doesn't know about that's talking. They're talking to the court, I think. Look at that. See, Black Moon Lilith to Coburger is an enemy. Somebody, I wonder if they're one of his coworkers because of Virgo. And if I can just reference the Sebastian show last night, I'm kicking myself because we were talking about how Virgo was clothing and it was in the seventh house. But at that timestamp, when we were talking about what was going on with Sebastian and his parents, Virgo is work. Somebody was at their work, possibly. And there was some talk about that with Sebastian's father and where he was, what his whereabouts, details of his whereabouts. So I think Virgo, this could be someone that he knows that he worked with, or it could mean something that has to do with clothing and more DNA. You can see Uranus plus Virgo. This is DNA on the clothes. This on Algol, it's DNA from the neck up. And it could be on the neck of a piece of clothing, but there's that neck there. There's strangulation. There's talk of, and this is going to come out in the press pretty fast, it looks like, because the ninth house is also the press. So Uranus is very, very fast. Venus represents the court, okay? Because Taurus is the lord of the ninth house for this chart. And we have Venus, female with red hair. There she is again. I think Moon in Leo for this chart. I think that's Ann Taylor. Taylor is a Leo name, and that's the help. That's the help. It could also be, and we've talked about this before, the king home. Leo meaning king, moon meaning a home. So let's say that it's the king address, okay? Moon in Leo. Interesting how it would be moon at 22 degrees, basically where victims were killed, 22, kill or be killed. And there's a trine to Mercury and Venus. It's almost like if we say that Mercury is the car, it shows that the car did go to that house. Okay. The 11th house, social media, the social media house on King. But wow, look at this. Would not surprise me if somebody came out that he worked with, maybe that has some kind of military background. Oh boy, there's going to be a lot of talk about the military with this court case. I mean, it looks like it, at least with Aries. Aries is hot, heated, mad, angry. And I think what the prosecution is probably going to do is build a case where what's being talked about, Mercury, the past retrograde, is Coburger and his temper. This is a big theme in this case, his temper. And so they might build a case around that. So many people in there. Now, if you looked at the government, okay, you could look at it, would be, Mercury is the chart ruler. Moon is the defense lawyer, okay, defense attorney. She's helping. She's basically supplying this transmission, okay? So weird about Aries. There's something about a female with red hair again, military. And isn't it interesting that the chart ruler, and I said this before, is at 18 degrees, which is evil, evil blood, evil head. I wonder if this is a clue as to where the weapon is. These are weapons, lots of weapons. So that could also come out, which I believe has been discussed before. He collected weapons. He had a lot of them. And so that might be coming up as well. But this alibi right here, it's in a T-square. It's not going to work. So that's my assessment. There's going to be some positive things that come out of this. I've already identified positive things for the defense, but there's just too much that's blocking them, I think. Okay, so I'm going to show you a few fixed stars here that you could see from this chart. And okay, Natalie, let me see this. Hey, Heather. My military man card, official person, came out every time I asked who the murderers were. One of them was or is most definitely military or police related. Some people might say that could be Coburger with his background in, the military to some extent. Okay. Now, I wanted to look at the MC, which is really for all to see. It represents, the government. It represents the power of the chart, really. It's very important, the 10th house and the 10th house ruler. But it shows power, greed, aggression. Okay. Now, normally it would be fortunate with Mars, but Mars in this chart is squaring the MC and it's in a T-square. I got to say, one of the biggest things from this chart, which if you're just joining us now, this is the chart for the timestamp when defense attorney Ann Taylor submitted the alibi, the amended alibi for Coburger, that he was looking at the moon and stars. And what do you guys think the moon and stars are? I guess the moon would be the moon, right? And that this guy here was looking at him with that trine, Mercury, and that's the chart ruler. It's trining the moon, so it can see the moon. And I would say Aquarius would be, the moon and stars too. You could also say Scorpio. So it's hard to say where that specific is about the moon and the stars. Except I really do like Pluto here for Pluto and Aquarius. Now, this is the sun, okay? And you can see the sun is the government, okay? But it's squaring Pluto and Aquarius. So this is basically the galaxy. And it's pissing off the government official, basically the prosecution. Maybe not the prosecution, but yeah, the prosecution representing the government. So it's like, come on, man, are you serious? It's going to potentially give them, because they have this expert coming in, it's going to give them a big headache. It looks like that. But they have, this is what they have. If you want to look at everybody's cards, who's got what? Well, if this is the prosecution, it's right here. There's a trine to the moon. And that's the King Street house. So it seems as if the blood evidence from King Road, I keep saying King Street, King Road, is going to help them. So in some way, shape, or form. Okay. And let's see what else. Oh, yes. 28, a little bit after this MC, is sickness, trouble, loss, affliction, spiritual powers. Saturn is unfortunate and it's squaring that. So it's right next to the murderer here, the murderer that's in jail. And guess what? He's going to be in there for a long time because Saturn is a very long time. This is a Cold War. Saturn cold, Mars war. And wouldn't it be interesting if they cited the Cold War? They didn't have tracking back then, but it seems like there's going to be something in history, some type of, maybe it's just modern history, where they're citing another case, perhaps. But whenever I see Saturn, I think of, past cases. And the sixth house is court matters. So past court matters. And so that should be interesting. And then, of course, Pisces. Okay. So we have Saturn at 15 degrees. And what I thought was really interesting about that, remember how I said Mars at 20 degrees in Pisces could be the Snake River because of that aspect to Uranus, which makes this water really fast? Well, we've got Saturn and it's at Achernar. It means the mouth of the river. So that being said, why don't we take a look at where he said he was? Wawawai Park in Washington. Wawawai County Park. And I'm going to share this in a second. Okay, hopefully you can see this. And check this out. Look at how, is this a mouth of a river? And this is the Snake River. I don't know. I don't know if that's a mouth. You tell me. I don't know what the mouth of a river is. I think I did well in geography, but that sure looks like the mouth of a river. Could that be where the weapon is? It's kind of like, it's the beginning of the Snake River. Thank you, Toy. Yeah, that's a possibility. I think there was more than one weapon. And let me go back to, let me see this. One sec. Okay. All right. So we have the mouth of the river that's right there. It's staring us in the face. Okay. Now, the next question is, how do we get to it? Who can get to it? I think searchers could, searchers with technology, new technology. And I don't know what part of fortune would represent. But I think it's possible that something could be found. I really do. And it certainly looks like there are two weapons because Saturn and Mars together could be two things. Sometimes Saturn represents metal. And we saw that with the Ted Bundy murder. So he would just, for some reason, that was one of his favorite methods to kill. So I thought that was really interesting with the 15 Pisces there, Saturn, and let's see. Saturn rules, because it's like, okay, so that's Saturn. Yeah, so what? So what does it rule? Well, it's going to have something to do with the fourth house, returning home. He's returning home. Fourth house is home. Saturn is to return. That was along his route. He went home fast. He returned home. But then Saturn also represents the fifth house. And that's a park. Okay? That is a park that's split because of that Uranus, or a park with an airport around it, because Aquarius and Uranus is an airport. So I didn't see any airports around here. But is the park split? Oh my God. It sure looks like it to me. Is there a way that he just gave away where the weapon is? I think that's a possibility. I really do. Holy crap. I'd say that's split. That's Uranus right there. Either here, whatever that is. Let's see. This is the park. The heck is that? Is that like a road? Well, the canyon is split, but is the park split? It's hard to tell. Oh, you guys aren't seeing this. Sorry. Thanks, Natalie. There you go. Okay, so look at this. I get so excited and I forget to move it over to the next slide, but here it is. This looks like that it's split. Now, this is a Bay area, which would be Pisces. And there, I mean, is that a mouth? I think that's a mouth. But the airport. Now, when we talked early on in this case, here's the airport here. There were two airports. Remember, we had the Pullman. It was almost like a twin type of thing. There's Staley Airport and Pullman Airport, I guess. Interesting. Okay. Interested to see what you guys think about that. Now, yeah, the biggest thing about this timestamp for this transmission of an alibi shows, oh, it's kind of it's not gonna have the success that you want it to have, but it might instill doubt, and the Uranus is gonna come in and help them there. It's gonna be a tough case. It's gonna be a tough case, but we don't know what the prosecution has yet. Okay. Still think that Scorpio, interestingly enough, so much Scorpio in his chart. And let me share it. It means snake. So kind of weird there that I'd love to see if, there's some kind of aspect. Yeah, this is a river. Look at that. Look at the top of his chart. Uranus and Neptune is a river. Pointing to Scorpio, the Snake River. I think that's a big clue, guys. I really do. Okay. And let's see here. Okay. The thing about this is this year's solar return. No, wait, I'm sorry, it isn't. 24. Okay. Okay, this is not the crime chart solar return. This is his solar return chart. Okay, so we're getting into 2024 here. And so we just moved into, oh, this is so crazy. Are you seeing this? Right at between March 21st and April 21st, look what is ruling that month. And that's Gemini. Gemini is the car. It's where he's driving. So now we're into the 6th house. And so we're going to go over to the moon, see what we can see here. The moon is going to rule his month between April 21st and May 21st. And this is what you can see in your own solar return chart. If you pull the right chart, you can see month to month, what the challenges are going to be. And it doesn't matter necessarily if there's going to be planets in the house or not. Got to look at the Lord. And the Lord is the moon right now, and there is a square to Mercury. So that is very interesting. It looks as if there's going to be trouble here when it comes to some kind of communications. They're not able to get what they need. Moon in Pisces, lots of Pisces, so much water. There could be something that comes out that has to do with jail because it is 12th house, and also maybe even a hospital. So, I mean, it's a stretch, but we see Neptune all the time with hospitals. So, but really it's kind of conjunct Neptune, but Moon is super, super important here for this house between April 21st and May 21st. This is somebody who is going to help you. Sixth house also represents court matters, lots of court matters, but Moon in Pisces is a psychic. It seems as if there could be news about a psychic or something. There's somebody psychic. Look at that Moon and Neptune right there. There's somebody that is maybe coming out and saying something about this case. The ninth house is probably one of the most important houses for him this year because it represents the court. So, and you've got Mars and the sun in there. So big fight, big, big fight. The thing is, and this is quite a big statement. Yeah, it could be the psyche Val. Is there a bathroom at the mouth of the river where you were, like a metal building? I don't know. We're gonna have to get somebody down there, I think, don't you think? Somebody who goes to the Wawa River. I mean, I think this is a gift. This this means something. There are going to be people going down there, I think. But here is the big prediction that you've been waiting for. This is Coburger's solar return chart. The Saturn here represents somebody's lawyer. So this is going to be his lawyer. And there is no success here. I know some of you are going to come out months from now and say, well, you're saying that she wasn't a success, but look at this and this and this and this. But this chart is showing me that, look at that big grand cross blocked from every side. If you were to have a solar return chart like this, it could show that there were things that were unfair that you weren't able to do that most people were able to do. And so that can maybe mean something for the appeal. But I got to say, I don't see anything here that looks like his lawyer is going to be successful. The people he's Uranus down here. If you can see that. Make myself a little bit smaller here. See that? Uranus is him. Interesting. One thing I always say is, when you've got your ascendant in Aquarius for that year of your solar return, people think of you as very smart, very intelligent, because Aquarius is one of the most intelligent signs. It's also a visionary. In his case, I think it represents DNA. And so I'm thinking with the third house, this is what's on his mind this year. And that can mean a couple of things because the third house is in Taurus. Does he have enough money maybe for this case? Also, Uranus is in Taurus. So this is the DoorDash driver. So he might potentially be looking at that as to, pinning it on someone else. So third house is what you're thinking about that year. He's thinking about Taurus related things and maybe even writing something in so that he can make money with a sextile to the moon. That is like a famous book or something like that, which we talked about in the past. So and here's one more thing. When your planet and his planet is Uranus. This represents him this year, meaning from last November going to this November, which is his birthday, November 21st. If your planet is retrograde, it means that you are not at capacity. Sometimes it means, you might have had somebody pass in your family and you're very sad that year and you're really not motivated. It could mean health problems. For him, I think it's that he's just simply incarcerated. He can't really do anything. And so that's why his Uranus there is retrograde, and can be good for those who want to know if he's going to get out of there or be freed. Uranus, what else is on his mind? The third house on your mind. Uranus is his freedom, getting independence, breaking out. And it doesn't seem like he's going to be able to do that, except for this one little sextile to the moon. Now, the moon represents the 6th house, okay? Maybe this is coming in this month, April 21st to May 21st. We'll have to see. Sometimes some of this is not made public, but the moon in Uranus, this is a famous scientist. Moon is fame. Uranus is scientist. It could show that he's gaining fame from something. I don't know. Maybe somebody's talking about him. I mean, Pisces can be like artwork and, trying to pass the days doing something. So it seems like he has an idea. Uranus is an idea. And then the other thing, too, that shows, besides the fact that his lawyer is in a Grand Cross, Uranus, which isn't good, it means stuck. Uranus is retrograde, which is not at full capacity or weak. He has this opposition to the 9th house, which is court matters, not good. But he also, let's see here. He's got Mars and the sun. He's fighting them all. I forgot what I was going to say. The moon is here. I think it's mainly Uranus is just, it's not in good shape. And the Grand Cross says everything. Okay, this is what I was going to say. Part of fortune. We always go back to part of fortune. Will this year be a success? The answer is no. You're not going to consider this year a success. And that goes from November 21st of his birthday to next November 21st. So that's what I have for him. It doesn't look promising. There are a couple of things that will be good news for him. He might, I'm sorry to say, and I've said this before, there might be some females who are interested in him. And that's going to come between June 21st and July 21st. Something might come out in the news that, I don't know, that maybe he's dating someone or something like that. I don't know how that could be possible, but you never know. Okay. Yeah. I know, Natalie. Did we come to the conclusion at some point it might not be till 2025? So much info and videos, I can't remember. Well, I'm looking at this chart here and they're fighting it. Like you can see look at how this is a big fight in court. Okay. And it particularly starts July 21st to August 21st. So if it does start this year, it seems like it's going to start gearing up. And of course, that's going to be Leo season, right? So, well, it's going to be Leo season once they start talking about it. But the lawyer is going to try to stop it. So, because of there's so much devious stuff on both sides. It's ridiculous. Look at Black Moon Lilith, and it squares these court, basically the court battle. I mean, I'm looking at this. There's a good possibility that it's going to be this year, even though they're going to fight it all the way. So, Saturn. You look at the chart sometimes and you want to know what you're going to get and what you're going to leave behind. And so for him, it's the North Node in Aries. So, and that's in the second house. So what does that mean? Well, it might mean money, something that he's getting for the defense, maybe private donations or something like that. North Node in second house. The South Node is what you leave behind. This, eighth house, this is real estate. It could be the dream of psychology, credit. He doesn't have a good credit score. A lot of times it means like real estate. So possibility maybe his family is having to sell something and he's not going to have that as, maybe an inheritance. So he has to give up an inheritance. But I'd say still that because of this mini grand trine here, it does look like the chances are high it could still be this year. There's some nefarious stuff going on. They're going to push it. They're going to really try to push it. But with this Saturn here, which is his lawyer, it doesn't look like there's going to be success. Okay, I know. Yeah, exactly. Absolutely. I know. You guys are so demanding. That is going to be another chart and another day. But let's see. Do I have it? Now, here's his decade chart. Have you ever pulled a decade chart? Just look at your birthday and go to the decade. So for this decade, you would go to 2020, and it would go from 2020 to 2030. And so for his, this would be November 2020, and then November 2021. So this is 2020. And you can do it for yourself too. It's pretty eye-opening, and you got to have tough skin because some of the times you look at it and you're like, oh my God. It's better actually to look at the decade chart. I call it a decade chart based on your past. Don't look at the one now because it can be a little bit jarring. But look at your 2010 chart and go to 20 and see what your life looked like. And so your years are all kind of parsed out here based on the houses. So we've got 20, 21, 22 right here. This is the year of the murders. And the third house is ruled by Venus. Venus. So this has to do with maybe wanting a relationship. Third house is what you're thinking about relationships. It has to do with transportation, with getaway cars, with driving, lots of driving. Oh, I'm going to be talking a lot that year about driving. So this would be really November, right? November. It's really, if you really wanted to be specific though, 2020, 21, this would be his birthday. So, I mean, this is really when the murders happened in his second house, which we talk about the second house, about the money part and how it's being ruled by Libra. So Libra, and the ruler is in the third house, which would be in the year 2022. Okay, so I know I'm confusing the hell out of all of you. But we've got 3 planets in this third house, and this would represent November 2022 to November 2023. Now, remember that right as this year was starting for him, he was pretty much on the run that month, that next month. So there's a lot of stuff that's going on that has to do with Scorpio. Weird how Mercury is in Scorpio, which means it means stealing. It means, if it's poorly aspected, which it is, look at how, if you look at Mercury, this is thinking about other people's things, okay? Opposing Uranus. This is a strike, okay? So striking, and the third house is an apartment. So there's an apartment strike. Black Moon Lilith is right next to Uranus. Whenever you have Black Moon Lilith conjunct any planet, it turns basically the eyes black. They don't care about what's happening. It's all about them. It's almost like they see people as almost objects in a sense, not actual humans. So it can be very evil. So you can see that opposition there. And let's see. Okay, look at this. Oof. This would be the year of the T-square. Okay, that's when the T-square would start. Hopefully you have a decade chart and you don't have a T-square, which would be wonderful. But in his case, he's got a bunch. And this means, yikes. This means a lot of years, he's going to have some problems. Look, you've got that one, you've got that one, and you've got another one in there too. This is a problem. And so as 2022 is starting, the fifth house is he can't have a family anymore. The fifth, it's completely shocking to his family. Why? Because of Uranus to shock what his alleged actions were. And it seems as if his family is being, on the whole, very supportive of him. So we've got Venus, Mercury, and the Sun in his 2020 chart. And so let's look at, that would be 22, this would be 23. So November 23 to November 24. So this is the year we're in for him now. Talk about being able to make predictions. So you've got South Node in there, and South Node is to, it has to do with the university too. Also could mean Netflix because Sagittarius represents Hollywood. And whew, so weird. You've got a success point here. This is tons and tons and tons of success. And it falls. Success falls. It goes down into South Node. He's stuck here. But there's something here in the 8th house. 15 degrees means an assassination. Something is going to help him get success. And it is in Gemini. I think it's a publication. I think it's a psychology publication. 8th house is psychology. Sagittarius is a publication. And Mercury at the top, or Gemini, is twins. Ugh. So possibly writing about something, writing about this. Now, it could simply mean something that has to do with the court. But can we see in this chart if he's going to be successful or not in court? So if this is 20, 21, 22, November 22, to November 23. November 23. Is that right? November 20, 21. It's kind of confusing. November 22, November 23 is here. To here is November 24. The court, it looks like he might have some kind of success here because the court is Mars. I think they're going to have, the trial this year. I really do. There's a lot of energy about the court. That makes me nervous a little bit though. But here's the best part. I haven't done a card in a while, so maybe we should do a tarot card. But look at this T-square with Neptune here at 18 degrees in his decade chart. No. The answer is no. He's not going to be successful. Come on now. Don't be silly. He's not going to get out of this. There's no way. I know I'm going to eat my words, but I'm sorry. That's what I'm seeing. So I'm going with it. Okay. So, hey, Angel. No, I don't think he's going to go free. Oh, yes, that's right. I forgot BTK. Exactly. I know. Twin. It's crazy. Yeah, we're going to see some more twins, I think. Yep. The twinning, so much twinning. Yeah, but Natalie, you're so intuitive. Like, you know things ahead of everybody else. So that's got to be something. And of course, you have many more things going for you. You've got some great things in your chart. So okay, yeah. Now let's do a card. And let's ask about the outcome of this case. Is Coburger, well, how will this case end? How about just a general question? How will this case end? The case against Coburger, state of Idaho versus Coburger. Give us some kind of card that shows us what we can expect. The sun, again, that's so weird. Oh my God, a different deck. And the sun again. I think it's the government. The sun is yellow. Sun could be Leo. That's king. Could be Taylor. God. The outcome of this case, the sun comes out. Blondes. All right, I'll ask about the perp. Okay, ready? The outcome of this case. Can you give us a clarifying card? Woo! Oh, I got two. 10 of Cups reversed and 10 of Wands reversed. Wow. Ten of Cups and that's pretty powerful. All right, let me see this. It doesn't look very successful. Looks like the future is upside down. It's reversed. And then 10 of Wands. It just seems like something is stuck. What do you guys think? Yeah, I know. We do. All right. So let me know what you guys think about that. There's a whole bunch wrong with this case. Whole lot of stuff going wrong. Could draw out for quite a bit. Now we're going to ask, what do you want to ask? Do we have the perpetrator on CCTV? Yeah, toy family breakdowns. Do we have the perpetrator on camera? Something that we don't know about that Ellie has. Ace of Wands. No. Reversed. Well, that would be a disappointment. What does Ellie have that is basically the strongest part of their case aside from DNA on the knife sheath? What else do we have? Six of Pentacles. Okay. Reversed. This could be something financial that something, because we've talked about this. This could be the burglary charge. So is it possible he'll get convicted for burglary and a few years, and that's that? I hope not. I hope not. Is there more than one perp? Okay. Is there more than one perp? Can you please tell us? Okay. Is there more than one perp in the University of Idaho murder case? Nine of Cups. What do you read about that? I mean, that would say no, right? No. It's Coburger. But there could be accomplices. So that's not telling everything. Yeah, come on, Natalie, let's go. All right. So, and then, oh, hey, Shazamanda. Nice to see you. Thanks for coming on and give us your thoughts. What do you think? Are we going to be seeing this case move to next year? Let me do this deck for this. Are we going to have to wait for this case for 2025? King of Cups. We get that a lot, the King of Cups. Hey, hope and happiness. Okay, so Natalie, 9 is singular. Reverse says there are more. Okay, thank you. So there are more. And King of Cups, what does that mean for this year or next year? It almost looks like I think it's this year. I think it's this year. I really do. I don't think that I think they want to get this over with, get it out of the way once and for all, and for the families. I mean, it's disgusting having to draw this out this far. So they want it over this summer, and that's that. Will this case be finished by the fall of 2024? Hope and happiness, you say King of Cups is a yes. Okay. 8 of Pentacles reversed. Money issues in the background. Thank you, Shaz. Nice to see you. Yes. All right. To me, 9 cards are singular, 9 of cups, happy by yourself, 9 of pentacles, money of your own, and so on. Yes. Okay. So somehow there's something financial there. I think there's a financial benefit if they get rid of this case because let's face it, it is hurting Idaho to keep this drawn out. So I can't imagine that it would be continued until next year. That to me would be crazy, but not impossible. So we're waiting on that. We're waiting on the decision of the court date. I know, Toy. Thank you for recognizing that. There is there's too much up with the money. Does it have to do with university money? Does it have to do with something financial that had to do with the motive? And I don't know. I'm not sure. So thanks again, Shaz. And all right. So today is Tuesday. I'm going to have a couple more shows coming up. Things are a little crazy with retrograde right now. So I'm going to give you a heads up on my next show, probably sometime tomorrow. I still promised you the Super Wealth, which is for members only. I'm going to let that go for subscribers for a couple of days and then file it in the members section. And we're going to be talking about Bezos's women and how they became very, very wealthy. And so much more coming up. The Royal Show, Royal Revelations, and more. So, if you are interested in a reading of whether it's a solar return chart or various other charts, you can sign up astrologywithval.as.me. And there are also some classes that are available. One is coming up on May 4th. So, I hope you can join me. So, thank you all so much for joining me. And yes, good point. I know there's a lot of money, a lot of money. And I don't think it has to do necessarily with Coburger. So thanks again for joining me tonight. And I'll see you guys soon.